Okay, we are recording now, and good morning. I appreciate everybody who's checking in. Mostly the projects came in, and I tell you, even though we are doing this online, this is about the best set of these that I've seen yet. So you are really good folks doing an excellent job, and I know life is weird, but you have really done a fine thing. So I will go to the tape. And what we have, hello. Okay, we will show you the stuff that you have done. Very lovely. The thing is, this is going to be a little short on copy. Can talk a little about the background, but the pictures are great, and that's what's really going to work. So no, lovely stuff. We'll have plenty to work with. Becca has talking about weddings. This is what she wants to do, and we have some lovely venues. Would be nice to get some close-ups. And now for a class project, a lot of you have gotten stuff that you've taken from other sources, and they're not your original. It's not always your original pictures, I don't think. That's okay for a class project. But next week, when we talk about web stuff, I'm going to talk about copyright and things that you can and cannot post on the web. So it's all fine for class, but if you're taking pictures and copy from outside sources, that can be an issue for stuff that you have on post on the web. These, I'd like to see a few more close-ups. UTC, I think it's great that you did this. Again, I'd like to see people. People say, interaction, that we're here, we're not just buildings. We have enough to work with, and the story's good, but again, it would be good to get some people. We have people on the bridge, original work. Excellent, excellent, excellent all the way through. Again, maybe like to have a couple more close-ups, but nevertheless, we get a sense of it. This is a really good approach. Again, there's not one way to do this. Megan talked to some climbers, kind of more of a personal thing. Great pictures. That's what's really going to make this. We need to identify these people in captions, but yep, serious folks, good story, very original approach. Talk to people about why they're doing this, so that's perfectly fine. Angela, of course, the Medal of Honor Museum, which is new, and she did a really good job on this. And again, we have people. People are good. You notice that gives you a sense of how big things are. More than enough to work with here. Gaspar, right down the street from me. We have Glens Falls, which is interesting because it's dry in the summer. Would like to see a story about Glens Falls. The Choo Choo, thank you, Peyton. That is great. Again, and all the stuff's there. Would love to see some people, but plenty of story to work with. So that's really good. The Reed House, excellent. We have some people outside, inside. We have people. We have close-ups. Everything is there. Maddie, good job. Okay, this is, okay, South Enterprise Park, other side of town. So that's also really good thing. Trees, would like to see again people. But that's good. Okay, Lookout Mountain, we got stuff, an overview from Allie. Yay. Also right around the corner from me. Again, would love to see people. And by the way, on Seeing Seven States, there is this physical thing called the curvature of the earth. You can only see 4 states. But the thing is, in the past, in the Civil War, some veterans were coming by and they say, I bet you can see 7 states. So that's the origins of that phrase. Okay. Yeah, again, we talked about COVID and he doesn't have pictures. Get some illustrations if you don't have pictures, other kinds of visuals. We have already have half of it done side by side. I don't know if he wants this to be the final project. It's 2 side-by-side pages. We'll think about that. Okay, Dave is still working on it. His own sort of stuff. He's serious about this. So still a work in progress as long as we know. So we do have some really good things to work with. That's the important thing here. So we will see what else we have. Again, really good work overall. And the good news is when we do the web pages, you don't have to do all the you don't have to put all the assignments on the web when we do the web page. So we have plenty to work with. Okay, so as we move forward, I have a template this week. And yes, I do have a place to put it, which I was late on last week. We do have a hand-in spot on the dashboard, on the Dropbox. I have for those of you who can use InDesign, what a 2-page center spread should look like. Again, we are doing a center spread here. You notice we have 1 page that's 11 by 17. It's 2 pages together. Having 2 separate pages is fine for a lot of pages, but I want this to be a 2-page spread, so I gave you 2 pages. The key is, a couple of keys, is we have a 1/2 inch margin all around and a 1 inch in the middle, so you could fold the pages together. And you can make as many columns onto these pages using text boxes and pictures. So again, if you want to make a where is columns? If you want to make this a 3-column page, we go, here it is, like that. See, I just made this into a 3-column text box onto that page, so you can lay your pictures out in a 2 or 3-column format. Or you could take your pictures and lay it out across both pages. So you have these options. But I did want to give you something to start with so you can visualize what it's gonna be. Don't save. Okay. So think about what you have and what you're going to do. Here is some ideas. Good and bad practices. How to see not all spreads are equal. The thing you see first is what's on top. A lot of people say, we talk about the hierarchy. Just like flyers and everything else, the most important things, headlines, pictures is what you lead with. It's like in the writing class, good to have a visual lead. Do not do this. What happens if people read from top to bottom, left to right? So, yeah, put this headline. So people, put this headline here, and maybe have another headline here so you know where to go. Basic stuff. See, this is good. Picture and a headline, and then it reads you across. A lot of gray in here. I might put a picture or two in here, but this is not a bad start. It's okay to have a picture and a big headline on one page, or a couple of pictures, and have your other stuff on the inside. Again, I would like you to have a headline under there, over here. This is what I see a lot of, hard to read. This is why we recommend, everybody recommends what we call modular design. Keeping your pictures in box, your text in a square box rather than dog legs, because you look at this and you don't know where to start. Maybe you start reading here and you miss all of this stuff here. If you keep your text in a block, even if it's a block like that, you can read it much more better in a nice block. And you can do it across, across 2 pages of your center spread. Ads, nah. But that's a good basic stuff to play with. And you could get fancier, but I wanted just to give you some basics. And how to set it up in InDesign. And again, this works in any program. already set it up for you. See? Same stuff I did. Now, some of the more but it's good to have an idea to sketch this out first. See, they did the fitting, move it around. Anyway, you can look at that on your own.
All you need to launch a culinary empire. Tools you claim everyone has in their kitchen.
Editorial design, and in particular magazines, have always fascinated me. There are a lot of things you need to learn to be good at designing contemporary, stylish magazine spreads. In this video, I will go through over 15 editorial terms and definitions you need to be familiar with if you are planning to design magazines. We will learn about kickers, stand firsts, bylines, pull quotes, and so much more by analyzing the work of my favorite editorial designers and art directors. Collected some amazing examples for this tutorial.
Yeah, see, look at all the different ways you can look. See, big headlines, you know, block type, all sorts of
which I'm going to use to demonstrate and walk you through all the terms and definitions that's used for defining elements of a magazine spread. Now you can actually access this Milanote board. The link is in the description below, and they all have links to the original artwork, so you can find the artists. And I actually also highlighted 3 artists. Their portfolio links are also in the description below. Most of the examples I'm going to use in this video are from these 3 creative directors and editors: Kevin Fay, Mike Solita, and Tanita Montgomery. Also, to make this video a good reference.
Oh yeah, we don't need all the credit.
So first and foremost, you have to always think about the full spread when you are designing something for a magazine. So instead of paying attention to individual pages, you always consider the full spread. So when a reader opens up the magazine, they will look at both pages roughly at the same time, so their eye scans across very quickly. And even if the spread has an article on one side and an advert on the other side, there should still be some form of harmony or consistency between them. Now, of course, when it comes to an actual article, the first spread of the article is the invitation for the reader to start reading that. And you have to really make a good job in combining those 2 parts of the spread. So there's 3 main factors with which you can grab someone's attention for your spread. The first one is the layout or the composition of the spread. The second is the image that you use, or the main image. And then the third one is the headline. These 3 are obviously very related to each other. So your composition relies on a good placement of the image and the headline, or a good combination of them. But out of all the textual elements, the headline is definitely the most crucial one on your spread. It is quite common for headlines to use display type, which is not just a single font, but it's usually a custom designed font or hand lettering that really suits the theme of the article. The placement of the headline is usually on the top left side, but it can also be on the right. And some cases, it can also be at the bottom or on the far left or far right. The reason why it's good to place it on the left side is because naturally we are starting to scan the spread from left to right and starting from the top left to the bottom right. That obviously can be different when you have your magazine in Arabic. You would probably have it mirrored and have things starting from terms and definitions.
Sorry about that. But he brought up a good point. In other cultures, speaking of diversity, in Israel or Arab countries, they read right to left. So they would put the headlines over here. Just an FYI.
Go through over.
So I think this guy's an Israeli.
While below it, this is the headline. And in this example, you can see that a font pairing can also work for a headline. So two very contrasting different fonts combined together still forms a good solid unit that can work as the headline. Now, usually just below the headline, so in this case, this section here is what we call the intro, stand first, or deck. And this is usually covering in a nutshell what you're going to read about within the article. So it really entices you to start reading, but it also acts as a bridge between the headline and the body copy. So here's another example of the kicker, the headline, and below it, the intro, stand first, or deck. Now, remember when I said the two sides of your spread should be considered as one unit, even though here we have a very distinct left and right side, there's still a lot of repetition that helps to unite them together. And unity in design is very important. So here we obviously see the color is used on the left and the right side. Then the same font is repeated again. And also in general, the shapes here on the left side are quite blocky and squared, which again is repeated here on the right side. Now, usually there's one element that comes straight after or attached to the intro. That's what we call the byline. It's just simply by and then the author's name. Now, these elements that we already covered are very common, but that's not to say that sometimes you might have to leave one of them out. Like in this design, I would say that this is the kicker, this is the headline, there's our byline, but there is no actual intro. We can consider this section here the intro, but it feels more like part of our 15 editorial terms.
I just did not like that one particularly because you start reading here. I would put the top head here and his kicker or deck or subhead over here. I don't like that one particularly. But again, as long as you have a reason to do these things.
The first paragraph can be considered the lead. And notice how that is emphasized with the bold formatting. So we wanted flying cars. That really leads you into reading the rest of the copy. Now, another term that you might hear mentioned when it comes to the first paragraph or even the lead of an article is not graph or not graph, which is an editorial slang for a sentence that summarizes the rest of the article without giving out too much detail. So it's almost like the thesis of what you are going to read about. And some may argue that the lead and the not graph is exactly the same thing. Some people would say it's different, but generally within your first paragraph in the body copy, you can include something that's again a little bit more elevated than the rest of the body copy. Now, another important thing that you need to keep in mind when you work with body copy is that you should have a standardized baseline throughout the whole spread, which means that the lines, even if they are in different columns, should match the position, so they should be aligned to each other. So here is another example. Even though we have a gap here in this first column, so there's the gap between the paragraphs, we still have the alignment between the lines on the left side and on the right side. So that alignment is thanks to the baseline grid. This is a feature in InDesign that you can turn on within an individual text frame or even for the whole document. Before we continue, I just wanted to let you know about our creative membership program.
Well, that's all fine.
Ending portfolio. Pro member.
That's all good for him.
Subheads, but there can be many levels of subheads. So even your 20s.
Because your passion never runs out, you deserve monthly income that does the same.
Could be one if the article then goes on and shows your 30s and 40s, but there can even be third and fourth level subheads. Like these, again, serves the same purpose, dividing or breaking up large chunk of text, but again, creating smaller divisions within already a unit that was created by the second level subhead. Structure and hierarchy is extremely important with magazine design because there's so many elements, so much information. You really need to guide your readers through the spread to make sure that they can find the relevant information. Because believe me, most readers are not reading in the order that you want them to read. They jump around, but by having these subheads, for example, you really give them entry points into different areas where they can go. And they might actually read eventually the whole article, but maybe not in the order that it was set up to be read. Now, another very important distinct textual element within a spread is the pull quote, which we can see two examples of in this spread. These are usually picked from the body copy and highlighted as like essential reads from the story and something that really is exciting and interesting. Once again, these are to draw attention to the article. So sometimes you might flick through the magazine and you see a pull quote that pulls you into the article. They don't always have to be quotes, so it doesn't have to be that someone said. It can be just a summary or like an interesting fact. So it's really up to you as a designer to decide what should be highlighted in pull quotes. Here is another very elegant pull quote placed within the center of the page. And here is another very eye-catching, strong and bold pull quote within the spread. And of course, pull quotes doesn't always have to break up the structure of the body copy. They can actually be independent, so they can be on the side, like here, a very sophisticated, subtle way of placing the pull quote on the bottom left side. Now, another important part for giving structure to the magazine within a spread would be the header and the footer. In the header, you would normally place something about the article, whether it's a recurring part of the magazine, and that indicates that this current article falls in that category, or it can be something more specific, like, let's say, the celebrity's name who is covered within that article. This is especially useful if you have multiple spreads and you want to make sure the reader knows that they're still reading about the same thing. The footer normally holds a little bit more information. One of the crucial elements is the folio or page number, which normally you would want to place on both sides, but if you only place it on one side, it's better to use the right side within the spread. The footer can hold additional information like the URL, website, or it can also be the date, and there can even be notes and references placed here. Now, in some instances, being playful with certain elements of your design can set the tone of the article or even the whole magazine. Shortlist is a really cool magazine here in the UK, and you can see how witty they are with their URL. So in this case, the footer is almost completely covered up. There's no page number visible, and also the URL I can't read. However, this is an element that repeats on the other spreads, and it doesn't always have to be fully visible. But once again, that is about breaking the rules when you know the rules. Another term that you might sometimes hear is running head or running feed. Once again, this is an element that carries on throughout a couple of pages to indicate a chapter or section within the magazine. So here in this case, that I could consider a running head, because as we go along and go to the other page, we again have the same design there. Now, I hope you found this tutorial useful. This was only half of the definitions and terms that I wanted to cover.
I think that's plenty. I'll post this one that just came up. But yeah, you can see, because I love all the, I love all the stuff that he has for examples. And just to give you some things to look at. Okay. Okay. Examples. And so, I mean, look at some of your things that you like yourself and look at the video there and start thinking. Have some fun. Think outside the box, but also use the box. Use your grids and your columns to line up your things so it doesn't look up like a ransom note. So it's time to have some fun. Anyway, on Wednesday, I will be here. It'll be a consulting day. I will be here if you have any questions on this assignment or any others, and I will be here. but I won't have anything formal. Next week, we will start with web design, and then on Wednesday of next week, I will do a thing on copyright and other issues that can come up. So we'll have a full week next week. Anyway, I will be here Wednesday. Anybody else have anything going on? Questions?
On our assignment, do we have a running head or footer for this particular?
No, you don't have to.
Okay, that's what I thought. Thank you.
No running heads or headers or footers. I mean, this is, if we were going to lay out a big magazine, yes, but it's only a center spread, so you can.
Okay, thank you.
But that may be something to consider when we do web pages, because we will be having multiple things. So you might want to have, rather than footers and headers, links. So we'll get to that. Other stuff. Okay. I appreciate all of it. Good morning, good morning. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being a friend. But no, I appreciate you all being here in the morning. I will post this shortly, and it's time for me to take Puppy for a walk. Thanks again, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.